Hi, it's Mark from Fluent Finance Abroad once more, and I'm very pleased to say that I'm here with Pablo Mayor Barcena from MDG Tax Advisors here in Malaga City Centre. We're going to get into a subject called the Beckham regime, and we want to explore that in more detail. But before we do, hi Pablo.
Hey Mark.
Lovely to meet you, lovely to see you.
Thanks for having me today.
Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and a bit about your background, please?
I'm a tax and international partner at MD Advisors. My background is I'm a certified accountant. I've been working larger companies in London and some other countries, and I do have expertise in taxes. And I joined the firm, I think it was like 10 years ago.
Okay, so tell us a bit about the Beckham regime. What is it?
So basically the Beckham regime is a special taxation regime which we have in Spain from a personal income tax perspective. This regime was created when David Beckham signed for Real Madrid. So that was, I think, season 2003-2004. Its technical name is a special regime for workers relocated to Spain. It wasn't created for David Beckham, but the name is taken because David Beckham was one of the first applicants, because it was created on the same tax period.
So what purpose does it have?
So the main purpose that the special regime is got is attracting high-profile individuals to our country. Or how does the government achieve that? By giving tax benefits to those applicants.
What tax benefits does it contain?
So there are various tax benefits, okay, but the main ones are that the salaries are that type of income is taxed at a flat rate of 24%, whilst anyone in Spain under general regime is taxed progressively until the 47%. So basically in the Beckham regime, salaries are taxed at 24% until 600,000 euro per year, and above that, then it gets up to 47%. That's one of the main benefits, but not the only one. A second one is that some other type of income which happens or is generated abroad, okay, in the home country or in any other country, but not in Spain, is not going to be taxable in our country. The reason for that is it's quite logic, because if the purpose of the regime is to attract high-profile individuals to our country, it wouldn't be fair for all those individuals to get taxed on something that happens outside Spain.
So that's quite attractive, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And well, that's not the main one. A third good benefit, an important one, is it's concerning the wealth tax. In Spain, we have this wealth tax, which mainly taxes worldwide assets, okay, for any tax resident in Spain. Whilst if someone is under the Beckham regime, the wealth tax only applies on Spanish assets instead of worldwide assets. As I said before, and connecting this with the whole purpose of the regime, it wouldn't be fair either if the Spanish government could tax worldwide assets to someone that we want to attract to our economy. Beckham regime lasts for 6 years. Well, professionals in the tax experts, we always say 1 + 5, because it's technically the first year in which you become tax resident, basically, okay, plus 5 more. So it's a total of 6 tax periods.
And so who would qualify?
There are certain requirements that need to be met, and not anyone can access the regime. We could summarize the requirements without entering into the formal requirements, but the law requirements are mainly 3. The first one is that the individual should have not been tax resident in Spain during the previous 5 years to the relocation. Second one, as we've been discussing, the Beckham regime is meant to attract people, and it requires a relocation, a physical relocation, and not for any reason, but for one of those set out on the legislation. It could be for one of the following 5 reasons. The first is that someone acquiring employment with a Spanish company, or a foreign employer sending someone to work remotely in Spain. Okay, so that's the first route that can be taken. Second one is someone that acquires directorship in a Spanish entity. Okay. Third one is a freelance whose activity is considered as innovative, okay, or related to R&D.
R&D meaning research and development.
Research and development. I would say that this third and the fourth routes are tricky in practice, because for an activity to be considered as innovative, okay, this has to be certified by another public administration in Spain, which is called ENISA. So a specific report needs to be submitted to that public administration, and you need to wait for the approval of that. The fourth one is someone that is still a freelance, but most of the income that professional is generating is invoiced to startups. Okay, as said before, the startup classification or qualification of a company is given by the same public administration. So that is taken for granted. And then the fifth route is for spouse and children of the main applicant. So let's say that someone applies to the Beckham regime in any of the previous four routes, okay? His or her family could also access the regime.
So it's not just for the individual, it's for the whole.
It's not just for the main individual or main applicant, but also for children and spouse. But the application of children and spouse also needs to be completed. It's a separate application and it's a separate proceeding.
So this is a way of encouraging high-value individuals to emigrate to Spain.
That's correct.
For a period.
That's correct.
So this is related to immigration as well, isn't it?
Correct. If you look at it from the outside, obviously what the government wanted when this measure was implemented was to move the economy and to generate the economy. So with that mindset, obviously if we are able to attract these high-profile individuals to our country, this is going to help our economy. So this is why we need to give them something in exchange.
Once you've joined, is there any way in which you can be excluded from the regime?
Yes, all requirements need to be met during the 6 years of duration, meaning that if one of the requirements at some point is not fulfilled, okay, then the individual could be excluded. Well, these exclusion issues, okay, need to be analyzed in detail and each specific case. But for instance, if someone relocates to Spain, access the Beckham rule, okay, because gaining directorship in a Spanish entity, if at some point that directorship or that position is resigned, then that individual might be excluded. I'm not saying that it's going to be automatic, but it could.
I understand. Is this only for people within the European Union, or does this actually benefit? Can anyone get access to the Beckham regime?
Anyone can get access to the Beckham regime, okay, despite nationality, despite previous country of tax residency. We are getting many interest in the Beckham regime, and we are completing many applications, okay, with a high rate of success, I must say. Okay, and we're feeling that even Spaniards are accessing the regime because they emigrated back in the days to any other country for work reasons, okay, and they are coming back. Before 2022, the requirements were tougher, so to say, but now the access to the Beckham regime is easier, so it's allowing all those individuals to come back to their country. Late December 2022, starts up legislation came in force. Apart from establishing certain proceedings and measures to benefit startups as companies, it also amended the Beckham regime. So this legislation, what it basically did, meant was that the requirements are now softer. Okay, for example, before, someone wanting to access the Beckham rule couldn't have been tax resident in Spain during the previous 10 years. Now it's 5. Before, the access was not possible for children and spouses. And also the directorship route was restricted by the percentage of shares in the company. Okay, so there were certain changes that made that from 1st Jan 2023, there's quite higher interest in the regime.
Now, a lot of our clients are English speaking. Okay, English speaking will be from Great Britain and also the United States, which are all outside of they're third countries. They're outside of the European Union. There's been a lot of talk recently about the elimination of the golden visa. We've had lots of people inquire through us about buying property and investing to have access to be able to come and live in Spain via the golden visa. There's also, from my understanding, the thing called a digital nomad visa. Is the Beckham ruling and the digital nomad visa linked in some way?
Yes, they are. Okay, and here it's important to discuss and talk about it because there's a lot of controversy now in between those two subjects. The first thing that anyone should know is that we're talking about independent issues and independent matters. The digital nomad visa has to do with the rights of any non-European Union citizen to be in Spain and to work from Spain or do business in Spain. So that's something that, as I said, someone from outside the European Union needs it, like it or not. Okay, the Beckham regime is a special taxation regime on personal income tax, okay, which can be accessed or not. How are both connected? Because from the approval of the startups legislation in December 2022, it is possible for someone that already has digital nomad visa, okay, to access the Beckham regime. How? Because the regime now presumes acceptance of digital nomad visa holders into the regime. But that doesn't mean that someone obtaining a digital nomad visa is already being granted with the Beckham regime. It's a separate process that needs to be completed.
A director of a company in the UK.
Yeah.
They've been the director of and it's their own company.
Yeah.
Yeah. They created it 15 years ago, for example. They're interested in moving to Spain to expand their business into this country. Is this actually an option for them?
Yes, it is. I mean, we as tax advisors, MDG advisors, we do not provide legal services. So basically, we do not assist in any immigration issues. We do collaborate with certain firms on that. Normally, once the client is got the digital nomad visa granted, the client comes to us, okay, and says, well, we do an analysis, preliminary analysis, and we see if it's beneficial or not, okay, to access the Beckham regime, because it's important to know if it's going to be worth it, because as I said at the beginning, this regime is meant for high-profile individuals, so it's not for anyone, because if your tax rate is below 24% or you don't have certain level of wealth, okay, then what for? Since the startup legislation came in force, okay, we've been completing quite a lot of applications to the Beckham of directors of UK entities, okay, relocating to Spain to expand their business. Each case needs to be looked at because, for example, in this specific case, we should consider if it's needed to create an Spanish entity and be appointed as directors and to trade from a new Spanish entity or not. But yeah, I think that's one of the typical profiles accessing the Beckham.
The reason why we need to start talking about it because the changes have made it more flexible. Whereas 5 years ago, we didn't talk about the Beckham regime that much because it didn't really apply to that many people.
Correct.
But now that's completely different, and this is why the Beckham regime is also is a way to encourage people, high value people, to come to Spain without having to put a large amount of money up front.
That's correct.
Which is what the case for the golden visa. A lot of people have talked about the golden visa. The minimum investment was €500,000. Anyway, it doesn't really matter now because we've had the changes to the Beckham regime, which came in last year. Is that right?
Yeah.
And it's got nothing to do with Brexit, no?
Nothing to do with Brexit. The only difference with the Brexit is that now someone from the UK needs a visa to work in Spain, but this is something that has nothing to do with the Beckham.
But they two go hand in hand with the digital nomad visa, which...
Yeah, I mean, the digital nomad visa also, now it seems that is also in the media, okay? Because also the access to it seems to be easier, so to say.
Makes sense to me. Well, look, that's been amazing, and it's a complicated subject, but thank you very much for taking the time to explain it to us. I think we're going to have a lot more conversations about this.
Definitely.
And, we'll definitely be recommending a lot of clients coming your way to understand if they can qualify for that Beckham regime, because it is fantastic.
Thanks to you.
Thank you, Pablo. Really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Perfect.